Okay, so tips for your TDs, your tiddies, your tank destroyers. Now, a lot of these will be more applicable for those TDs of the generic variety that don't have a turret and suffer from conditions of lack of mobility, but a lot of this is general stuff that you can adapt to all sorts of different types of tanks. So, let's get into it. Now, a common morbid fate for tank destroyers is to be outflanked and made to feel utterly helpless, left with no recourse whatsoever as you're taken apart and destroyed. We've all been there, but there are things that you can and should be doing to stop that happening. At all times, in all vehicles, you should be well aware of your surroundings, and in particular, you should be aware of where the nearest hard, solid cover is. Take this situation for example. Here I am in my Object 268, and I've been caught in a rather bad position. I get one shot off, come in for that booty.
Denied.
You know what, do it again. You've gotta be kidding me. This thing has 303 millimeters of penetration. Come on! I get one shot off, but I won't reload in time to get the second before he's on top of me. Right? What many people do in this situation is they immediately panic, they start spinning like a top, and they just spin and rotate, and then they end up just dying and looking like a goit in the process. What you should do, however, is when you are outflanked, immediately turn and drive towards the nearest hard, solid cover, whatever that may be it a wall, a rock, the edge of the map, whatever you can get. Drive towards it, and ram one side of your tank hard into it, and then turn. What this will do is it will mean that the enemy tank can no longer outflank you, and you can turn and use the wall to scrape them off your side like you're scraping an unwanted piece of dog shit off your shoe. Thought I'd just cut in here while I was editing and offer my thanks to Big C for volunteering to be the piece of dog shit in that analogy. If you do this when you realise you are about to be outflanked, you will stand a far better chance of coming out of the engagement at the end of it than you did before just spinning on the top and waiting to die. There are some times where, for whatever reason, a rock or a wall or hard solid cover is not available to you in your talented TDs. It's called playing badly. However, there are still things you can do to make the best of a bad situation. If you are being outflanked and you cannot get to hard cover, always turn in the direction that forces the enemy tank to change their momentum, and if possible, to reverse. If you're being outflanked by something and you try to pursue it, you try and turn the same direction as it, if you haven't caught it in 5 seconds, you're not going to catch it in 20. But if you rotate the opposite way, it forces the enemy tank to do one of two things. They either have to stop and turn around to go the other way, or they start reversing, cutting their mobility in half and greatly improving your chances of reacquiring that target. Yeah, get behind my ass. Yeah, okay.
Right.
Now 3, 2, 1. Let's do the. Oh no! Oh, for fuck's sake! You know.
Oh fuck. Okay.
We don't need to do this method. So I'm outflanking like this, and then I decide I'm gonna actually turn the other way because I'm intelligent, I'm manly, and now eventually I shall catch the enemy tank. Give it a minute.
Speed this up.
Give it a minute.
Slowly but surely.
Just that we're demonstrating concepts here. It does work. It just takes a fucking while. There we go. Okay. It serves you in many ways. Even if you don't reacquire the target yourself, it serves you and your team if you turn in a direction that slows that enemy tank down. If you've got people shooting in from distance, it makes it an easier shot. If you've got arty that is looking to defend you, it makes it an easier shot. Try at all times to mitigate the momentum that that tank has when it tries to outflank you by considering where to turn. try even to anticipate that before you get outflanked. If you see a tank rushing in, like this, choose a direction. Just go like this, because if you turn that way, what's going to happen? He's going to go that way. But if you've already started turning in this direction, as he's going that way, he has to stop, turn and reverse. Again, you can anticipate maneuvers like that, but the objective is always to limit the mobility of the enemy tank to give yourself the best chance possible. This tip is mainly tailored for your tanky tanks, your T95s, your E3s, your Badgers. Not everyone is aware you can actually mount 2 repair kits on any tank, 2 medical kit, 2 med kits as well. As an example, on my T95, I use a small repair kit and a large one. I use a small repair kit for my tracks and a large repair kit because it gives a 10% bonus to repair speed. As an example, you could equip 2 repair kits and a small med kit, then train preventative maintenance to deal with the fire risk. Not a lot of people expect you to have 2 repair kits, combine that with a toolbox, and you can really throw people off balance. Many of you will already know this, but firing your gun in water tanks hugely decreases your camera rating, massively increasing your chance of getting spotted. Foliage, bushes and trees can and do provide you extra camera rating up to 50% in some cases for the larger ones, and the small ones like this random tree that I knocked over. Well, I mean, I'm just special. However, when you fire your gun within 15 meters of foliage, you remove for a short time the camo bonus that those bushes were providing you, meaning you're probably going to get spotted. So what you can do is what you see me doing here in this Golobanov's ELC game. Click up the top right or in the description if you do want to watch the entire game, by the way. If you reverse behind foliage until it becomes opaque, until you can't see through it, what that indicates is that you are 15 meters away from that bush. So when you fire, you won't lose the camera rating that that bush provides. You can see here I'm about 150 meters away from these tanks, but because I'm abusing the camo mechanics, I can fire while remaining unspotted. It's common among skilled players to pull in close or within 15 meters of a bush to enable you to see and spot through it, and then pull back behind it to fire the shot. Now, I'm about to give a spoiler for this ELC game, so if you do want to watch it in its entirety, go and do that now. Link in the description, card up here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, okay. Bear in mind that these rules apply for foliage no matter where it is. You can use that against enemy tanks. If a bush is 15 meters away, spotting lines are impeded by it. You can't see through it. Likewise, the enemy, assuming they are also 15 meters away from the foliage, have their vision impeded by it too. I used this to my advantage at the end of this ELC game. Knowing that this arty could spot me and get a lucky shot if I fire, I relocate into a position where the foliage of this tree is between me and the spotting part of his tank, so it allows me to kill him while remaining unspotted. It is quite a common thing for me to do, to wait to fire until the enemy tank has traversed into an area where there is foliage between me and the target of their tank. What that means is that I can fire while remaining unspotted because that foliage is blocking their view. You can use this in any class of vehicle, though do remember, you can still be spotted in foliage if your camo is bad enough. A general tip for positioning in tank destroyers: imagine that you are shining a torch out of the front of your tank, and that beam is going to extend in an arc of about 30 to 40 degrees. Now that number can be bigger or smaller depending on the flexibility of your tank. If you're T30 with a turret, maybe it's 50 degrees. If you are T95, it's probably 20. If you're a tortoise, 30 because of a wide gun arc. You know, adapt it based on the flexibility of your tank. What it's designed to do is help inexperienced players conceptualize positional play and help them understand when they're getting into a bad position. Generally speaking, tank destroyers favour confrontations and combat where the enemies come funneled in that area in front of them due to their limited mobility to engage and dispatch multiple targets. So if you are pushing into an engagement and you find that the enemy is going out of that arc in front of you, think very, very carefully about what you're doing. Because everyone, when they see a TD, they go into outflank mode immediately. And they will pounce on you given half the chance. Ideally, you want to be keeping the enemy team in that 30, 20, 50, whatever degree arc in front of your tank. Just imagine that imaginary torch beam based on the flexibility of your tank and try and keep the opponents in that adaptive space in front of you unless you are actively attacking or claiming a position or focusing a tank, pushing a flank with your team. You know. Final tip for TDs. Don't be a bitch. General rule, if you're on full HP at the end of the game, you could have got more damage, credits and XP in that game. You could have done more. Not always, generally speaking, that's true. Remember, hit points are hit points. On a heavy, on a medium, on a tank destroyer, on an SPG, on a light tank, hit points are hit points. Your hit points are your currency. You trade them for damage. You trade them for position. You trade them for the win. It's like playing chess. I see far too many people who, just because they're in a tank destroyer, they sit at the back of the map for the entire game on full health, and then they wonder why they get surrounded and die. And I'm sat there asking, why did you not spend your hit points earlier when they mattered? When your team still had theirs, when you could have still had support? Maybe you can't bounce shells like a heavy, maybe you can't dodge shells like a light, but you can use hit points the same as any other tank. And sometimes that's exactly what needs doing. You're seeing now me playing a Waffenträger Panzer IV front and centre on Sand River, out trading heavies, trading hit points for damage. I had a really good game. I got a top gun. You aren't destined to play defensive because there's a triangle above your tank. Do not be afraid to get stuck in and play your part if you need to. Bonus fact. Tank destroyers used to have a class bonus similar to light tanks in the current game. Light tanks, if you didn't know, they keep the same camouflage rating while they're moving that they have while they're stationary. That's their class bonus. Now, tank destroyers used to retain a far higher camo rating after they fired compared to any other class of vehicle. That was their bonus. However, that bonus was never removed on these old premium tank destroyers. As an example, you know the Swedish STRVs that always shoot you in the face and never get spotted? Yeah, well, the highest camo rating on one of those is on the tier 10, which has 13.68 after firing. The tier 7 SU-122-44, 3 tiers lower facing opposition with far weaker V-range, has 16.38 camo, and the E25 has 24.54. This is why these old premium tank destroyers are considered so overpowered in the current game state, because not only are they powerful tanks in their own right, but given the nerfs that came across the board to any other standard and future premium tank destroyer, they are just that much better in comparison. Bonus fact, did you know that the camo net changes its effect based on the class of the vehicle that is put on? I didn't. I found out recently that it gives you a bonus of 5% camo on your heavies and your SPGs, 10% on your mediums and your light tanks, and a whopping 15% on your tank destroyers. That is huge, and I did not know that, so I thought I'd share it with you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Check out the Learn to Play World of Tanks playlist. God damn it, I've been pointing there the whole video. Screw it. Check out the World of Tanks playlist. It's up in the top right hand corner of the Learn to Play World of Tanks if you want to see more videos of this ilk. The ending playlists that show up will be various things that I'm sure you'll find interesting. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like and a comment if you did enjoy it. Share your opinions. Anything I didn't know, anything I missed, any tips that I covered, please leave them in the comment section. And I will see you all next week. at 6 PM GMT time. That's when I publish my videos. Thank you very much, and good night.